So finally, I am immediately going to bring together The Great Caucasian God and Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. These two works so blatantly call out the Abrahamic religious kind of propaganda that comes behind doing war. And I again believe that these two works sit on opposite ends of the same spectrum. In Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, we see a young woman from Gaza writing to us from Gaza. And then on the other side, in Jesse Wells's song, we see this conceptual idea of this white nationalist who I think Wells is pretty clearly making fun of. But we're seeing it from his lens, someone who was raised in this sort of Bible Belt, honestly. And Jesse Wells was raised in the Bible Belt. Here I want to point out a poem in Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. It says, "My grandfather was a terrorist. My grandfather was a terrorist. He tended to his field, watered the roses in the courtyard, smoked cigarettes with grandmother on the yellow beach, lying there like a prayer rug. My grandfather was a terrorist. He picked oranges and lemons, went fishing with brothers until noon, sang a comforting song en route to the farriers with his piebald horse. My grandfather was a terrorist. He made a cup of tea with milk, sat on his verdant land, as soft as silk. My grandfather was a terrorist. He departed his house, leaving it for the coming guests, left some water on the table, his best, lest the guests die of thirst after their conquest. My grandfather was a terrorist. He walked to the closest safe town, empty as the sullen sky, vacant as a deserted tent, dark as a starless night. My grandfather was a terrorist. My grandfather was a man, a breadwinner for 10, whose luxury was to have a tent, with a blue UN flag set on the rusting pole, on the beach, next to a cemetery." In this poem, we see the way that the author is using the propaganda that is both coming out of American politics and Israeli politics. We see the ways that she is calling out, oh, you're calling everyday people terrorist, which is bad. The Great Caucasian God calls out the hypocrisy of Christian white nationalism in America and the ways that people have been justifying things for so long now. And he even goes as far to say, in Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear, we see a more impactful sort of storyline that kind of happens because we're seeing it directly from the lens of war, someone actively going through war. But I think that puts her at this other end of this sort of activist spectrum that Wells is at. But this sort of puts the author at this sort of other end of Jesse Wells's activist spectrum. I think Jesse Wells is advocating for a sort of pacifistic government style, and I don't think that's out of bounds to say with what we've seen of the rest of his work. And so I think both of these works are advocating for the same thing, and to put an end to all of this justification, put an end to the violence, put an end to all of it, because there's no way that any sort of religious value can justify what is going on anywhere in the world right now. And I think both works are calling out the hypocrisy of each side.